Good afternoon, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to another great Lunch and Learn. Today, our speakers will be from PTAC, or Florida Procurement Technical Assistance Center. We have JJ and Raju here, who will be giving us a brief overview of what PTAC is. And without further ado, JJ, if you would go ahead and take it away.
Oh, happy to, Alexa. Thank you so much, and thank you, Director, as well. Good morning good afternoon to everyone. I have my colleague on the line as well, my senior colleague. Her name is Carol Hart. So both of us are part of the PTAC team, and Carol has taught me everything I know. So we'll start there. It's great to be online with all of you, and I just grabbed this picture of Broward County, and I thought I'd start here, where a lot of you serve the public faithfully. And my experience with procurement buyers is that you guys are generally the hardest working teams in an agency. That's just my opinion, but this is the kind of thing that I saw when I was in government myself. And we reserve, this particular gratitude when we talk to law enforcement and the military. We often thank them for their public service, but I think I have an opportunity here to thank you for your public service, for faithfully serving the residents of Broward County, and then your service and mission toward the entire region. Um, you know, as a resident of South Florida, I want to thank you for your faithfulness and your fidelity to the mission of serving the public. And you're probably thinking, this guy is really trying to butter us up. And you would be absolutely right, because I am trying to butter you up on a Friday afternoon, right before the weekend. But there is there is quite a bit of sincerity in what I'm intending to communicate. So that's kind of what, when we look at public service, a lot of it is, um, you know, the public just doesn't understand what's done behind the scenes often. When things go wrong, then the public pays attention. So from one former county staffer myself, I want to thank you for what you do. So I'm Carol and I are hosted here at Florida Atlantic University, and as the director mentioned, we are kind of quite excited about what's going on, and our Final Four game is tomorrow, and so there's a lot to be proud about. So as you can see, part of my mind is somewhere else, but I'm so happy to be here with you. I hope you learned something from our quick conversation today. So, quick description of who we are as a team. It's actually two programs. So it's the SBDC and PTAC, so the Small Business Development Center, which is housed in universities across the state. And then we're housed together with PTAC, which is Carol and I and Christy. You'll meet, you'll see her information later. And we are the government contracting unit within the Small Business Development Center. So our fundamental goal is to work with small business owners and small business teams and to help them grow their business. And why Carol and I are on the line with you today is that we want them to be strong suppliers that you would potentially procure from. And so we are, some of you may have never heard of us, but we are working behind the scenes and we work confidentially. So we don't come out in the public often. We just work with small businesses privately and we support them. And it's just I would argue that we're one of the best kept secrets in South Florida and around the state, because of the nature of how intensive we work with small business owners and small business suppliers. And so I wanted to do something quickly just so that, because of government, there's all these acronyms, and I don't know what you'll take away at the end of this presentation. So I just want to do a quick, like, these what we are putting out to the marketplace to reach small businesses, so you can get like a quick dose of what the small SBDC does, and I'm hoping you can hear this.
Okay, we don't have audio.
You can't hear it. Okay.
No, you may have to, when you share, you'll need to select include computer audio. So what you
Well,
can do is,
it's okay for time's sake, it's fine.
okay,
So because what I'll do is I'll send this presentation to you, Alexa, so that you can disseminate if people are interested. The basic idea is that these are small business programs. One is very generalist in nature, which is what this little video piece would have kind of just punched through. And then the other one is PTAC. So the SBDC and PTAC, these acronyms, these two programs are supporting the small business community in Palm Beach and Broward. And so if perchance your team, as they're working with suppliers or would-be suppliers who are not ready to work with you, and you're trying to communicate, well, you should probably work with FAU's programs, these are the kinds of marketing pieces you could pass on, so they understand that they have that kind of support. And so just to give you an idea, these two logos at the top, the SBA and the Defense Department, are the bosses of our programs. And I'll get into that in just a moment here. So get through this here. Okay, so this is a small technical map of our funding. And so there are 40 offices across the state of Florida between the Florida SBDC and the Florida PTAC office. And the Defense Department has now taken full control of our funding. We were at a lower level with the DLA before, and that our contract with the Defense Department of the United States has started. And then all the SBDC portion of program is funded and administered and oversight with the U.S. Small Business Administration. And then a lot of the funding is routed through the state of Florida, and our host is FAU. So if any of that made any sense to you, the focus of me even showing that to you is so you know what our priorities are and where we're funded. And so with the SBA wants the entire small business community to be strong. So they are lending support, and the SBA lending programs, their financing programs that they run through the banks. We are the field team to be able to connect the small business community to those SBA banks or other financial institutions as well. So as they're working with us, our goal is to build capacity. On the PTAC side, our boss is the DoD, because the DoD is focused on the entire government industrial base as well as the defensive industrial base. And so the supply chain from top to bottom, from the federal government all the way down to the local, they want to make sure that contractors are properly understanding the process and they know where to move within the government. And my senior colleague, Carol, has been working with small businesses, getting them set up to be federal contractors for a good portion of time as well. She's worked with FAU on this, and she's had significant success, helping people become federal contractors and then being stronger federal contractors. So the way it's set up is that the PTAC team is housed in each SBDC office with each host university. So each of these individuals are spread across the state. And it just so happens that South Florida has one of the larger teams between Carol Hart, who's on the line, Christy Pittman, and myself. So we are gearing to be able to support local suppliers and local small businesses to become contractors, both at the local level, the state level, and the federal level. And so the way it's structured so that you can see how we're trying to support the entire supply chain and supplier base of the entire state of Florida, region by region by region. And you can if you think about it, you might realize that using a host institution like a university is a good way to kind of spread those resources, so that the local agencies like Broward County, you don't have to fund this. We're here as an auxiliary to you. I want to kind of give you a sense of how our team is composed. So this is the entire SBDC team, the Small Business Development Center. And the PTAC team, as you can see, is housed. I hope you can see my arrow, my mouse arrow. So this is the entire government contracting team, and then we are housed with lending and capital access team. So these individuals both help on the accounting side, making sure that people are really thinking through their financial position, as well as how they're running their bookkeeping, so that they actually have capacity if they need financing, or help them to ramp toward financing. And then we also have a paid tool where we actually have an online platform for people to build their business plan, because this is always challenging for small businesses who are running their business, and then they have to write this business plan kind of term paper, which is difficult for a lot of small business owners. So we've developed a partnership with LivePlan, and we give access to people to be able to build business plans so that they can work with their capital access specialists and get financing. As you can imagine, and this is where, for you as buyers and for us as consultants, we actually share something in common, I think, which is that as buyers, with each opportunity, depending on which government you've worked with and which SKUs that you work with, or which NIGP commodity codes that you work with, you develop a particular specialization over time. And it's surprising how technical purchasing is, and what you learn when you're procuring services. For us as consultants, we kind of have business consultants working with the small business community. We have a similar experience where we kind of, there are businesses I just wasn't even aware, sectors that I just didn't particularly care about, and now I know quite a bit about, just because I'm working across sector, across size of business, as well as working from small solo entrepreneurs to very large federal contractors and county contractors and municipal contractors. And so I imagine that if we were to share stories, we might have some similarities. I should say just a little bit more about our team. So we do have a export and logistics and international global trade unit. So this team does the research and supports suppliers. And if you look at this, it's not an org chart, it's just a map of our team in terms of how the consultants are placed to work with this small business community. Our goal is to kind of work with serious entrepreneurs and serious small businesses, but we also help everyone. So there's a lot of small business would-be people who are pre-entrepreneur, or they might be pseudo-entrepreneur, they're just kicking tires. We take all of that incoming. And this could be some relief for your team, because you might be getting a lot of people who just think that government contracting is easy and it's simple, and now they're contacting you and they don't know the first thing about what they're saying or doing. This is where we can be that auxiliary team, a complement to you, where you can shuttle some of them to us and let us work with them confidentially, so that when they come back to you, they're much more professional. They know what they're talking about. They can price. They can handle the technical specifications of a solicitation. They can handle negotiation properly, and then they can manage the contract so that you can entrust them with that procurement. So that's our role. We want as much of our small businesses to be suppliers, and not only suppliers for the public sector, but obviously for the private sector. And we are focused on making sure that our companies are doing well in both sides. And when they come to government agencies, they're treating you seriously, like they would treat the private sector. But it takes a little bit of translation, and our team is happy to do that. We'll be happy to do some of that work, and I'll show you a few slides where I explain what I mean by that. So, and then we've got part of our team has focused on startups and funding and investors, even nonprofits in the artist community. These two gentlemen actually work quite well in Broward County. They're based there, and they're all on the top of all the other small business clients they're working with. They have a passion of actually helping some nonprofits as well as artists and creatives too. So we've kind of branched into a little bit of area that we don't normally break into, but we've got professionals on the team who just got specialties, galore. So, and then you can see we have a marketing team that helps people look at their digital footprint, whether they need to advertise, their normal marketing strategic position. And then these two individuals here actually they actually are on contract with, one is with the city of Delray, and the other one is the town of Davie, and they're on site in those in those particular communities. So then they are their primary focus is to work with those communities, their small businesses in those communities, and those are just municipal relationships that this team has. So most people wouldn't know that we're doing it. We're as broad as that, and we're as deep as that. But as you can see, when you have two programs that are funded federally and at the state and at the university level, a lot of that funding can be effectively and efficiently deployed through confidential business consultants. Just to give you kind of an idea, I mentioned this to Director Bob earlier. We have a strong presence on Davie campus as well as the Fort Lauderdale campus. So your Broward suppliers have access to us both in person as well as virtual. And so we've got a strong presence in Broward, and we would want to support your suppliers or your would-be suppliers. And then just to kind of get a sense, because people don't see this part of our work, this is our impact just as a team and as a region, and then the entire organization statewide. And you can kind of see the number of jobs. A small team like that, we've touched small businesses. We're at a total of $430 million in total sales. And then our team has helped bring in $50 million worth of financing for small businesses through the SBA lending program, as well as a lot of our capital access consultants actually have relationships with different local banks, so they can bring them aboard to develop relationships with our small business owners. And then obviously on the government contracting, the three of us are working with suppliers to pursue government contracting, both at the federal, state, and county level. And then obviously everybody's coming at us. So we have a lot of people we are trying to get, who are trying to start their business. So we're that support for them as well. So when you come, this is just our 2021 numbers, like 20,000 hours of consulting time across 2,000 entrepreneurs in 2021. 2022 numbers are coming out. We also do training events, and we do co-events with agencies and with specialists as well. So I want you to kind of see what our data is, so you understand that we really are passionate about the small business community, and we're passionate about being effective. And our resources are efficient, so that we're not wasting the time of the small businesses, and we're not wasting time in the use of taxpayer funds. So, but all of that, this right here is what it's about. These small business owners, and a few of them are suppliers as well. And I could run all the data, but these are individuals, like, we know their names and faces, right? And our goal is to the ones that are actually can provide products and services to you, we send them your way. You just don't know that we're sending them your way because our work is confidential, but we're there behind the scenes polishing and supporting them. We're doing therapy sometimes. You're not supposed to do that, but we do that too. But I know you all as buyers, you guys experience a whole plethora of dynamic experiences with small business owners, I imagine. And so I just share some of these small business successes, so you can see that we're for us, these are real people, these are real entrepreneurs, real suppliers, and real economic development happening.
Okay, JJ, I see Bob has raised his hand, and there's also a question in the chat.
I'm
Bob,
actually at the
if you
second.
wanna-
Yeah, I'm at the. This is the perfect time to ask questions.
Okay.
No, thanks. So my question is, I believe there's different definitions for a small business. So I'm
Yes.
assuming that you're using the federal definition.
We are,
right?
yes.
Which might vary depending on what commodity or what
That's
industry that you're referring to. Okay, so it might be helpful to explain that definition to the attendees on this call. And the second question I have is, have you worked with the Broward County Office of
OESBD?
Economic and Small, OESBD?
Yes.
Okay.
So great questions. So definitely, so Carol and Christy are focused on federal and local suppliers, and I'm focused on local and federal. And what that does is when we have micro entrepreneurs and small startups and sole proprietors, and we're trying to get them to become suppliers for government, my goal often is to get them to municipalities within a 10 to 15, 20-mile radius, or get them onto online platforms so they can see where they can service. When you're working at the federal marketplace, then you're going to have these larger government contractors that Carol and Christy are working with in a much more intensive way. And so they have to obviously operate in terms of the, no more than 50 employees and several $100 million worth of revenue. So we stretch as far as that.
Right.
Our goal is we want some of those federal contractors to come down into the local marketplace and offer their services that they're offering the federal government, because they have capacity. So in that way, Carol, Christy, and I are working together to make sure that our suppliers also, if they're strong with a department at the U.S. government, they certainly could provide technical specs in such a way that at the county level or even at the municipal level. But then our goal is also to polish the mid sector as well, right? So you just have your normal 100K to $750,000 million firm who actually could provide services and have capacity to work with a municipality. And then as you're in that $500,000 to $2 million revenue size, very much so you could handle a county solicitation. So we have to kind of work with, the definitions are technical, but in reality, we're kind of in the same world that you are somewhat, because we're just trying to get them to be as efficient and effective in terms of how they're approaching your solicitations. So I've answered your question kind of a roundabout way, because we're just dealing with real small businesses just like you are.
Well, part of my challenge and others I've only been here for a little over a year and
I saw that.
5 or 6 months. So
welcome.
Well, thanks. I love it here. Great team, great location, great county. So
excellent. Good to have you.
Thank you. One of the first things I noticed was sort of the limitation in the degree of competition that we're getting for many of our solicitations, where we get a single bid or we get 2 or 3. I'm used to getting, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and that was at a different level of government. So I thought, well, maybe it's just the result of being within a smaller jurisdiction where there's less suppliers that are responsive to our solicitations. But when we put out something and it goes to 6,000 vendors and we only get 1 or 2 responses, I'm thinking something's not right here. So we can take it offline, and I would probably like to work with you to see how we can get additional competitors to compete for business in our jurisdiction. So again, that's a discussion we can work on. I'm focused on small businesses because that's where the county wants to develop the economic base for small businesses to make sure that they're successful. But I'm also interested in just getting contracts with any business at all that can be responsive. So that's that. So we can work offline on that.
So Director Gleason, on that, we have a common concern and we have a common focus and purpose. So our role is, we're concerned that we don't see enough working at the level for our region as well. So let's spend on training small business owners to have the right mentality and the right courage and build up their company so that prepared.
You're breaking up, by the way. I don't know.
A lack of
your audio is breaking up.
I'm having the same problem.
So maybe turn off your video. That might help the bandwidth a little bit.
What I'm going to do
You're back.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Jade, we can hear you. As Bob mentioned,
Okay.
what you can try to do is turn off the camera and see if that'll help.
Okay. Testing 1, testing 2, testing 3.
We hear
Okay,
you.
we do hear you.
Can you hear me now?
But
It is
we
still
hear
breaking
you,
up?
but you're frozen on
Oh,
the
okay.
camera.
So I'll take off the camera. How about now?
Perfect.
Okay,
That's
cool.
better.
So, oh, it is better. Okay, good. Thank you. So Director Gleason, this is actually why we were excited to get receive the call from all of you, is because we know that your team cannot spend the time training and helping specific small business owners do what more competitive small businesses or mid-sized businesses who are working with you. And we also want to see more companies bid across our region, both the Broward County and then Broward County municipalities. And so I'm so glad that you reached out, because if you know that we are a resource, you could probably take some of that weight off of people who are coming to you. And our team has a good relationship with OESBD as well.
And that's helpful to know. Thank you. We just passed our budget for the next year. And one of the things that I've had in both Virginia and Maryland was a vendor management office with somebody who's certified as a supplier relationship management certification in order to help build our supply base. So we've just gotten approval for the budget for the coming year. We've just posted the ad for a VMO SRM manager to help us grow the supply base. So to be sure, we will work, closely with your office to develop, our suppliers, big, small, and in between,
Yes.
in the future.
Excellent. And this is our only focus. So we're not scattered doing other things. This is how we are measured in terms of the government contracting with PTAC. And then our small business office, they're measured in terms of building capacity, sales, and financing if necessary. So we have no other focus. So we would be potentially a good auxiliary to your team, because our focus and our purpose is the only thing is that we've been working behind the scenes doing this. And now I think we attended the NIGP event last November. The town of Davie, you may know Brian, he invited us to come out. So I think what we're trying to do is probably reach out to the procurement teams, say that, hey, we're actually supporting the small business community so that they come to you properly. And so
they have another event next month, I think, in Boca.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, so you can reach out to the Southeast Florida NIGP chapter.
Okay.
And I think it's anybody on the line can help me out here. Is it in April or I think it's in April, mid-April. Well, I'll send you the link. I'll get it.
Wonderful.
Yep.
What I'll do here, wait, was there 2 questions? I think I answered. Oh, was there a second question I missed, Director Gleason?
I think there was, but you can move on.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
That's
sure
right.
it'll pop back up. So just to kind of give you a sense of how we're helping. So this is like the specialized. So obviously Carol, Christy, and myself are involved with the government contracting side, but you can see that we are trying to make sure that the suppliers and the small businesses, like, they have full financial strength. And then they also pursue domestic, not just the domestic market, but international markets as well. Then, because of the hurricanes and the weather scenario, the SBDC is often kind of brought in when there are disaster scenarios as well. So, having worked at the county, Palm Beach County, so I know your lives change substantially under emergency management scenarios. So we also at the SBDC, we go and we even have 2 buses where we just go and reach small business during disaster. So our PTAC team did exactly that during Fort Myers. We just reached out to the small business community, and they were out there filling out disaster loan, because we have that relationship with the SBA. So I want you to be able to see both programs, not just the PTAC, but both programs as a small wraparound support to the small business community in Broward County. And so then we kind of get inside a little bit. So we'll even do like human resource type of things because the organizational type of development tools. And we also have paid research journals and databases that small businesses, if they're starting to kind of research other markets they want to go into, whether for business planning purposes or just go in and new customer acquisition, we have those tools so they don't have to pay for that. And that helps because we're in a university. All of that stuff is available by nature, by a natural to being in a host university. So,
And JJ, you're not sharing your screen anymore, so just in case you were walking through your PowerPoint.
okay, thank you. All right, how about now?
Yep.
Excellent. So I'll just show you the last screen so you can let's see. So this is what I kind of went through, so what is it referring to. The remainder of this presentation is just I'm giving you an inside look at some of the types of communication we do with the small business community. And I thought some of your team might find this humorous because these acronyms are your life, but for the small business community, they find it, bewildering. And they shouldn't, but so that's the role. Sometimes we'll go as basic and foundational as this, right? And some of them will be like, okay, so there's 2 types of RFQ. There's a request for quotation and a request for qualification. And those are the kinds of, it seems silly, but those are the kinds of fundamentals we want small businesses to understand, right? Every discipline, if you're learning a sport, you're learning an art, you're learning music, you got to start with the fundamentals. So I know your team uses BidSync, so we actually do a training in BidSync, and I don't know if you guys find the humor in this, but I find a little bit of humor because I do go in piece by piece on the solicitation and I just kind of run through it because I assume that small business owners just will look at some of this and once they get it, they're good. But when it's new or they're going from agency to agencies that have different third-party portals, or they have their own portal, like Palm Beach County has its own portal, whereas Broward County and Broward schools, you use BidSync, I think, wisely. So I want small business owners to be able to move across these portals well and understand the fundamentals of like the deadline, planning for the deadline, talk to the buyer, or even things like the cone of silence, right? Where they should not be talking to anyone at the agency, when this thing is on the street, other than the buyer, him or herself, right? So these are fundamental aspects of government contracting, but we have to start here. So I just thought I'd share this with you because these are the things that we share with the business community. And, so they will look at a list of documents like this and complain. And I will say, wait a minute, focus on the solicitation. The rest of these are forms that you have to fill out. These are important for the agency to get this information from you so that you are responsive and a responsible bidder. And once they get it and they figure out, oh, okay, I can do this. That's the goal of PTAC, getting them to realize they need to treat this as important. And so then,
And just so you know, too, we're moving away from Periscope or
Oh, you are?
BidSync.
Okay.
Yeah, at the end of this year, the contract runs out. And we just engaged a company called Bonfire.
Okay, we know Bonfire. Yeah, they just took over Demand Star.
Right, exactly. They took over Demand Star. So we'll be deploying that throughout the next few months, and by the end of the year, we'll have that done.
JJ, you're frozen again.
Oh, I am? Okay.
Yeah, and now you're back.
So well, I am at the very end here. And so what I want to do is if testing 1, testing 2, testing 3, testing 4. No,
We hear
can you
you.
take off my camera?
We can hear you.
Testing 2, testing 3, testing 4.
We got you.
Oh, I'm back. Okay.
Yeah, you're back. You're good.
We any small business could just email that.
You're cutting in and out, JJ.
So okay, well, I'm gonna wrap here because I think it might be helpful. This is our registration. This is our registration. And these are the emails for the PTAC team. I will send presentation so that either the small business can reach out to us, or you can, it's been a real pleasure to be part of your Lunch and Learn this afternoon. Thank you for letting me go over, and I do apologize for the technical difficulties, but what a pleasure to speak with you all today.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat at this point.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions that they'd like to ask? If you want to go ahead and raise your hand, and we can go ahead and pull you off mute. Okay, so I'm not hearing anything. Everyone's saying thank you and they appreciate your presentation. So thank you, JJ and Carol, for spending the time with us today. We really appreciate having PTAC come and present. Go Owls, as I said before, I'm a fellow owl. And if you guys have any additional questions for PTAC, you have their contact information. It was shared here on the screen, as well as when JJ sends the presentation, you will have that information there as well. So thank you guys. Thank you for attending another great Lunch and Learn, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.